Emmanuel Macron is the youngest president in the history of France, who took office in 2017. During the elections, he was considered a dark horse because of his sudden appearance in the political scene, and his personal life and a certain degree of secrecy attracted special attention. In this video, we tried to shed light on the details of the life of the French president. Emmanuel Macron, how the French president lives and where he spends his state's money. The full name of the French president is Emmanuel Jean-Michel Frédéric Macron. He was born on December 21, 1977, in the city of Amiens in northern France. The parents of the future president were scientific people. Father Jean-Michel was a professor of neurology, and Mother Françoise was a doctor. Their first child unfortunately died at birth, but then, besides Emmanuel, they had two more children, Laurent, who became a radiologist, and Estelle, who chose to become a nephrologist. Emmanuel had a beloved grandmother on his mother's side, Germaine, a former headmistress of a school who was a great influence on the boy. She was an ardent social reformer and influenced the formation of the future president's political views. Later, Macron will tell that he was closer to her than to his parents, that after school they drank hot chocolate and listened to Chopin. However, his parents also paid a lot of attention to their children. It was his father who instilled in Emmanuel a love of history and literature, taught him ancient Greek and philosophy. Until the 6th grade, the boy studied at an ordinary public school, and then, per advice of his grandmother, he was transferred to a private school called Jesuit College. By the way, at the age of 12, the boy was baptized by the Catholic Church by his own decision, although his parents were not religious. In college, the man fell head over heels in love with a married teacher, Brigitte Tranier. The parents found out about the fact that their 15-year-old son liked an adult woman, almost 24 years older, completely by chance when Macron Jr. was called by a classmate while, according to legend, Emmanuel was staying there. The teacher was of bourgeois origin, her father being a famous pastry chef, and the parents of the ardent lover were sure that their son was dating her daughter, who was, by the way, a classmate of Macron. They got close when working together on a play in the theater club, which Brigitte directed. The young man impressed her with his exceptional mind, and he regularly heard praise from his beloved teacher. In addition to his literary talent, the future politician was a good pianist, and as Brigitte admitted, she had a feeling that Mozart himself was playing. He even took place at a music competition in his hometown. And the future politician dreamed of becoming an actor at first, then a writer, and even tried to write adventure novels. The parents were stunned and angry at the news, but that didn't ruin their relationship with their son. And the decision to transfer their son to the elite lyceum named after Henry IV in high school was not an exile, but Emmanuel's choice too. As for Brigitte, she was made to never meet with Emmanuel again until he came of age, to which she tearfully replied that she could not promise anything, and Macron, leaving, promised that he would return and marry the woman he loved. However, Macron's secret meetings with his future wife were never interrupted. The unusual couple was supported only by his grandmother, who became an attorney in matters of the heart, and as Brigitte later told, nothing would have happened without her help. Around then, at the age of 16, according to rumors, Emmanuel wrote a 300-page erotic novel about his relationship with Brigitte. Macron asked his former neighbor to type it out. The names of the main characters were changed, and according to a neighbor, the text was colorful, bold, and sometimes obscene. The novel became known in the lover's small hometown, and Brigitte, a mother of 3 children, was subjected to real harassment as all her close friends turned away from her, and she remembers this time as very difficult for her. Her parents, respected people in the city, had their doors spat on and were written anonymous letters. At the same time, Brigitte's husband found out about his wife's affair and left home enraged, although they divorced only in 2006. After graduating from the Lyceum, Macron began studying philosophy at the University of Paris-Nanterre, then public relations at the Paris Institute of Political Studies, and since 1999, he has been a personal assistant to the philosopher Paul Ricoeur for 2 years. In 2004, Emmanuel became a graduate of the National School of Administration, after which his political career began. In the same year, he became a financial inspector at the Ministry of Economy, where he was invited by the presidential advisor and worked there until 2008. A year earlier, Emmanuel and Brigitte finally formalized their relationship, which had been secretly going on all these years. The ceremony was quite modest. After getting married, they immediately bought an apartment in Paris for $1.1 million. By the way, Brigitte did not immediately agree to get married officially. Macron remembers the 15 years of life preceding the wedding in an atmosphere of misunderstanding as a very difficult period that forced him to grow up early, and considers the current state of affairs to be a conquest. Then he joined the Rothschild Investment Bank, where as an intelligent economist, he carried out a number of transactions for the resale of European companies, increasing his net worth to $3.3 million. Macron said about his occupation at that time that this job was like a prostitute's. The main objective was to seduce. One of his colleagues even said that Emmanuel could seduce even a prison door. After convincing Nestlé to buy the Pfizer division for $12 billion, Macron received the nickname Mozart of Finance in the bank. From an analyst standpoint, Emmanuel grew into a partner, and his commissions began to amount to more than $1.1 million per year. But while dealing with investment issues, Macron also followed the political situation. Back in 2006, while working as an inspector in the presidential administration, Macron joined the Socialist Party of France, where he was a member for 3 years. But as the French media noted, it was a matter of formality. He did not pay dues and he did not participate in events. In 2012, Emmanuel began working at the Élysée Palace as Deputy Chief Secretary to President Hollande. Macron served in this position for 2 years, after which he received the position of Minister of Economy, becoming the youngest minister of France at the age of 36. In this position, he put forth a number of laws and amendments, for example, the famous Macron Law concerning trade, transport, construction, small businesses, and other things. There was also talk of creating a network of cheap intercity buses, liberalizing some professions from the field of law, which was supposed to reduce tariffs for their services. The document was received ambiguously and caused mass protests, but big businesses won. Interesting fact, when Macron left the government, he had to return to the state $60,000 spent on his training, since he did not work there for the required 10 years. In 2013, Macron experienced a serious tragedy. His grandmother died. When they called him to say that Manette was dying, the politician ran away from a work meeting and managed to get there in time to say goodbye. The woman died in her grandson's arms. They were very close. Emmanuel called her every evening. He even talked less with his own father. The father admits that he saw his son once a year and is not very privy to his affairs. A year later, Macron created his independent party En Marche, which he declared neither right nor left, and in the fall of 2016, as the leader of the party, he ran for president. By the way, the numbers of registered party members reached 30,000, and the average contribution was $55. During the pre-election period, Brigitte was constantly with Emmanuel, yet the couple claims that she did not engage in politics and only sometimes gives advice. She picked up her husband's clothes and directed his performances. By the way, Emmanuel calls Brigitte Bibi and strongly emphasizes his affection for his wife, even once suing a young girl trying to establish a close relationship with him. In court, the politician assured those present that he loves his wife and does not intend to cheat on her, which delighted the female half of the electorate. Sometimes there are rumors about Macron's sexual orientation. In particular, they talked about his intimate relationship with the president of Radio France, Mathieu Gallet. A year before he was elected president, the politician had a problem. During his speech, his voice broke down, and he, as they say, let out a squeak. On social media, all this caused a wave of jokes, so the politician decided that it was time to master oratory and began taking lessons from opera singer Jean-Philippe Lafont. By the way, Macron is considered a perfectionist. He tries to achieve perfection in any affair, repeats and rewrites his speeches dozens of times. For example, to meet with voters in 2017, he wrote 27 different versions of the speech. The politician sleeps, according to rumors, only 3 hours a night, and he is also considered an excellent conversationalist, able to maintain a conversation on any topic. Under the outward smile and poise, rigidity sometimes wakes up. For example, once during a speech to protesters, already as president, a dissatisfied person shouted that he could not afford such an expensive suit as the politicians, to which Emmanuel told him that the best way to save up for a suit was to work. Then local media wrote that Macron had lost his smiles and composure. While preparing for the election program, Macron simultaneously wrote the book Revolution, in which he outlined in detail his plans for the years of his presidency. The publication was quickly sold out and elevated up the rank of French bestsellers. Macron fought for the presidency in the second round with Marine Le Pen and won with 66.06% of the vote, becoming the new president of France. His victory was ensured by the fact that he was the only candidate advocating the preservation of the European Union and the complete reformation of the French political apparatus. However, Macron's policy did not suit all residents, and in 2018, a protest movement of yellow vests arose in the country, the peak of which fell in December 2019. At first, his participants opposed an increase in the carbon fuel tax and later against pension reform. In order to stop the unrest, Macron was forced to refuse to raise the retirement age to 64. In the same year, a scandal occurred in France, the reason for which was the assault of demonstrators by Macron's assistant, Alexandre Benalla. When Macron was a presidential candidate, Benalla was the head of his security. After the election, he remained in the position. At the same time, gossip began to circulate that Benalla was a shared lover of Brigitte and Emmanuel because the men were never apart. They rode bicycles, skied, and sailed together. And Madame Macron was also seen with him more often than with her husband. However, Benalla soon lost the president's trust due to his corrupt dealings. The behavior of the Macron couple contradicts all the rumors around them because they always express genuine feelings for each other in public. And their love story, which has passed the test of time and condemnation by loved ones, serves as proof of their strong bonds. The president says about his marriage that although they do not have a typical family, there is no less love in it. But the media still sometimes sting the couple with their jokes, for example, releasing various kinds of cartoons. The presidential family has no children of their own, but after getting married, Macron became a grandfather for 7 grandchildren and a stepfather for Brigitte's 3 children. By the way, one of the adopted sons is 2 years older than the famous stepfather, and one of the daughters works in the presidential administration. Emmanuel is happy to babysit his wife's grandchildren, considering them his own. The president, like a true Frenchman, prefers red wine and loves French boxing. Also in 2018, Macron, famous for his love of the theater and classical music, played the role of a reader in the production of the children's musical fairy tale, Peter and the Wolf. The event was attended by the First Lady and children from low-income families. The French president also entered the list of the most influential people in the world, according to Forbes, taking 12th place. Emmanuel Macron is known for his progressive views, for which he was nicknamed the French Obama. The most striking example is his speech after the murder of a teacher who showed cartoons of the political satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo in class. He defended freedom of speech and posthumously awarded the teacher the Legion of Honor, which caused protests by Muslims around the world. Supporting the image of a young reformer president who is able to find a common ground with everyone, Macron ardently supports the French national soccer team and comes to practices, meets with Justin and Hailey Bieber to discuss climate issues, and in February of 2021, he made a bet with YouTubers McFly and Carlito that if they shoot a video about the benefits of washing hands, wearing masks, observing social distance, and if they gain more than 10 million views, they will be able to film the following video at the Elysee Palace. Macron lost the bet, and the creators played a game of trust with the president, and at the end invited a French metal band to the filming. In 2021, the story of the murdered teacher and the caricature of the Prophet Muhammad came to light again. A poster with the image of Macron and the image of Hitler was published on a billboard. The owner of the billboard thus decided to protest because of the vaccination campaign, and on Twitter reproached the authorities that it is okay to laugh at the prophet, but not to expose the president as a dictator. By the way, in 2013, the law about insulting the president was banned, but Macron can still sue. In October, the president recalled his love for soccer and played together with the employees of the Poissy Hospital in a charity match, the purpose of which was to raise the necessary funds for the Paris Hospital Foundation. The money was collected and the president was immediately dubbed the French Ronaldo for his goal at the penalty shot. For good deeds, the Macrons used not only his name for the president, but even used their own dog in an advertisement with an appeal to help animals. Back in 2017, the presidential couple took a half-breed Labrador from a shelter, paying $280 for him, who was named Nemo. It was he who started an advertisement in which he tells about the story of stray animals and calls for taking one of them home for Christmas. During his career, Macron has received many awards. Upon taking office, he was awarded the Grand Cross of the National Order of the Legion of Honor and the Grand Cross of the National Order of Merit. He is also a recipient of the Grand Cross in Italy, Senegal, Greece, and other countries. And in Brazil, he is a Knight of the Order of the Southern Cross. In 2018, he was awarded the Charlemagne Prize for services to the unification of nations and the Champion of the Earth Prize, awarded for achievements in environmental protection. Macron and his wife live in the Élysée Palace, where they moved after winning the elections. The palace is called a palace for a reason. It amazes with its royal luxury. There are brocade curtains, huge chandeliers, and gilded columns. The cuisine of the palace is loved all over the world and is in any French family. For the Feast of the Epiphany, they serve the Magi pie or royal pie. Almonds or a small figure are baked inside, and if Macron gets it on January 6th, he will become king for one day. The president's cutlery is so valuable that it is placed in a special storage area so that visitors do not take them as a souvenir. Near the palace, there is a garden with a spacious lawn. Meetings of the president with advisors and international negotiations are often held in a green hall with an oval table. By the way, after the move, the First Lady brought her own rules and slightly changed the composition in the presidential residence, freeing the windows from the excess of dense curtains that darken the rooms and block the view of the garden. In addition, on the Côte d'Azur, the president has a country residence, the Fort de Brégançon Castle. It is situated on an island. The French press reported that by order of the president, a swimming pool was installed in the castle, which cost $37,500 to install, but it was rather a saving because much more was spent on security on the beach. There are two towers in the castle. One has a study, the other, the so-called Western Tower, which houses guest rooms, a dining room, and private apartments that are inaccessible to the outside eye. There is also a garden and a helipad on the territory. The annual cost for the maintenance of Fort de Brégançon reaches $220,000 a year. The next presidential election is coming up in France, and Macron has not yet decided whether he wants to run for president again. Before the end of the presidential term, the politician disclosed his income. The French president has a net worth of $1 million, with an annual salary of $192,000. Moreover, in the first year of his presidency, he earned $130,000. For the next 3 years, he received $830,000, and this year so far, $192,000. Macron also has to repay a loan of $140,000. In addition, he talked about the lack of a personal car and his own real estate. Only his wife Brigitte has a house in Les Touquets, which she inherited from her parents and is estimated to cost about $1.43 million. By the way, Macron estimated the house at $220,000, perhaps in order not to pay more taxes. The renovation of the villa cost $300,000, and once a month the Macrons meet with their children and grandchildren here, so they consider this a family residence. The three-story house has balconies, a red roof, and a combined brown and beige facade that often attracts the attention of both journalists and tourists. Ordinary French people are outraged not by the president's income, but where he spends such large sums of money. In 2020, $660,000 of budget money was spent on flower decorations of the Élysée Palace. And even earlier, journalists found out that in just 3 months, Macron spent $29,000 on the services of a makeup artist. Here again, some doubted whether these two were only connected by business relations, but even in this case, the rumors remained only speculation, since they did not find confirmation of this. Also in France, the granting of a special status to the First Lady was widely discussed, which many perceived as a violation of the election promise never to pay for her expenses with budgetary funds. There was even a petition that gained more than 250,000 signatures against this perceived violation. But in the end, Brigitte received an unpaid representative position. Regarding cars, President Macron prefers French cars. During his inauguration, he surprised everyone by driving a Renault Espace crossover, which the president was crazy about, having gotten the car when he was a minister. At the same time, the president managed to ride a French military car capable of accelerating up to 70 miles per hour. But for most of the inauguration ceremony, the president rode a DS7 crossback crossover. In addition, as a gift from the previous president, Macron was left with an armored Citroën C6 limousine and an armored Renault Velsatis hatchback. This year, President Macron's fleet was updated with a new version of the D7 Crossback. It became known as Elysee, and the body, of course, is armored. The car is painted in the traditional color of the presidential motorcade, blue, and inside and outside it is marked with letters RF, which means the Republic of France. After leaving his post, Macron is expected to receive a salary of $6,870 a month, as well as compensation of $14.9 thousand a month. By the way, compared to his predecessors, Macron's salary is lower. This is the story of Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, along with his difficult lover and many talents. Although he may leave his post soon, he has remained an enigma to the end. What do you think is the secret of his success in the political scene? If you like the video, leave a like and also subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss anything interesting.